Ready to roll. Good morning or good afternoon if you're joining us from the East Coast. Thank you once again for taking the time to join us in yet another one of our webinars. Today's webinar, we're going to be covering Apple's iOS update and how that actually impacts your cannabis ads and cross-channel tracking, how to safeguard your digital marketing strategy with our tips. This specific update from Apple has generated a ton of buzz. We're getting questions day in, day out about it. So we're really excited to share a lot of our research, a lot of the firsthand experience, and help you navigate these these challenging waters, if you will, from a digital advertising perspective. So thank you very much for joining us. Let's get right into it. So on today's agenda, we're going to be covering the real impacts that the Apple iOS update could have on your ad performance and your bottom line, what changes you can expect from ad providers in regards to cannabis advertising and the iOS 14 update, and how you can leverage different ad types to mitigate the new challenges imposed by the iOS update. Quick introduction on myself. I have 20 years of sales and marketing experience. I have been part of the Foot Traffic family for 4 years now, and I'm really excited to be your host for today. So thank you for that opportunity. Foot Traffic is a digital advertising agency laser focused in the cannabis space. We're really happy for all of our partners out there who have entrusted us with their digital advertising campaigns. Let's get a quick moment here just to discuss some of these housekeeping items to make sure we're prepared for today's webinar. First up, cell phones. If you do have that Apple cell phone handy, we love them, although not today as much because of the Apple iOS update, but we ask you to put them face down on the desk just for the next 28 minutes or so we can cover a lot of information with you. Familiarize yourself also with the Zoom interface. There is a Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. We do have panelists who are live on this webinar who can address any questions you may have in real time. And do be sure to stick around. We have some really exciting offers for those who are attending this webinar today, and we'll be sharing it with you at the end of the webinar. So according to Statistica, 47% of US cell phone users have iPhones. That's approximately 113 million Americans that primarily use the iOS interface to download and interact with a variety of apps and websites. Apple designs their devices to be aesthetically appealing, and in order to manage that, they have a lot of restrictions on what app developers can and cannot do. They also continue to push the boundaries of user friendliness, making their interface more and more intuitive and trying to include things that matter the most for their users. At the same time, they and other tech giants are dealing with more political oversight as politicians question whether companies like Facebook, Google, and Apple and more are doing enough to safeguard consumer privacy. We've already seen that conversion take place in California, where the CCPA has made it easier for consumers to access the data that companies have on them. Now, rather than waiting for additional legislation to mandate access to personal information, Apple took it on their own hands to add a new feature to their latest iOS update that makes it easier for consumers to see where they're being tracked and to opt out of cross-channel tracking. While Apple is the one implementing this change, it doesn't just affect those with iOS devices, and it could impact how you advertise on mobile in general. So let's talk about how this works. Basically, starting with iOS 14.5, iPad OS 14.5, and TV OS 14.5, Apple has added a new user-friendly user-facing feature called App Tracking Transparency, or ATT. Don't confuse it with AT&T, the cell phone provider here. This is app tracking transparency. If you've updated your iPhone, you may have already seen this feature. Essentially, because of ATT, a pop-up will appear when an app is going to be used for the first time, and it asks users whether they want to be tracked or not. For tracking to work, apps use a token on iOS devices called the identifier for advertisers, or IDFA. So Apple's basically asking users for permissions on whether or not they should allow their apps to use their IDFA and share that data. The IDFA is similar to a cookie or a pixel. It is similar to what is used on web browsers to track user activity and determine things like where someone goes online and how long they spend on particular pages or website. The IDFA is a randomized token that Apple generates on each device and allows app developers and websites to track you for the purposes of advertising. It's basically how you can search for some shoes on your phone and then get served an ad for those shoes at other platforms like Instagram or Twitter. This token allows for targeting and personalization of ads across channels, platforms, and devices. If you have joined one of our previous webinars, you probably know that targeting ads is very important for getting a good return on ad spend. So if people opt out of being tracked and say they don't want the IDFA sharing information for particular apps, then advertisers lose access to valuable data that helps us target ads. This is how Apple has allowed apps to advertise to users in the past. They've always been pretty protective over it and continuously and very cautious about who is allowed to use it and not. Now, the company, which likes to create the aura of being very privacy focused, is putting the power in the hands of the user. With the latest iOS 14 update, Apple is letting users decide whether the apps they've installed on their phone can have access to that token at all. I mentioned a pop-up before, so let me tell you what iPhone users are going to begin experiencing when they update their phones. Once the update is installed, every time that they run an app that requests access to Apple's IDFA token, they're going to get a pop-up that says, in quote, allow app name to track your activity across other companies' apps and websites. Your data will be used to deliver personalized ads to you. Users will have two options. The first is to not track, and the second is to allow tracking. If you have an iPhone, you've seen similar pop-ups before when apps attempt to access your microphone or camera. This pop-up will look exactly like that. Apps aren't able to change the look of the pop-up, just some of the wording around it. When users allow tracking access to that IDFA token, they will actually be providing to the app, and everyone will be actually able to see it in terms of data and their consumer information. But if a user chooses not to track, which happens to be the first option people will see, then Apple won't allow that app to access IDFA. And the app will not be able to provide targeted ads. Instead, users will receive more generalized ads, which may be hit or miss depending on their interests. Apple isn't the only company that is implementing changes. If you have an iPhone, you probably noticed that after the iOS update, you also have an update on a bunch of your apps. Often, this is so those apps can provide a better user experience based on the latest iOS features. That's kind of what's happening with Google and its many apps as well. Once they got the word of the update, they started to make changes to its apps in order to protect itself and its ad revenue. Google has plenty of apps, including Chrome, Gmail, Photos, Drive, Maps, Docs, Calendar, Translate, Home Assistant, and many, many more. Plus, there's the biggest one of them all when it comes to advertising, YouTube. So imagine your Google and Apple tells you, one of the biggest advertising platforms in the world, hey, we're going to ask users whether they want you to track their activity. And if they say no, we're going to tell you. While Google is a huge tech company, Apple controls the App Store and can remove all of their apps if they don't comply with the new privacy measures. So they're being forced to work within that new update. Because Apple informed developers about the privacy changes, Google has had months to come up with their workaround so they can try to protect their ad revenue and analytics capabilities as much as possible. After all, so much of Google is built around tracking user behavior, and here their competitor is trying to limit their ability to capture that valuable data. So what are they going to do essentially to ensure they can still provide the personalized experience that many of their users and advertisers enjoy? Well, first up, search should not be impacted. So if you're running Google Ads, your campaign should be fine. And if you aren't running Google Ads, well, it's probably time you start considering doing so. Other Google campaigns will be affected, however. So if you're running dispensary ads via the Google Display Network, Discovery campaigns, or YouTube, then you will likely see a drop in performance for those apps, especially if you're using interest-based targeting. Google, however, doesn't just rely on Apple's IDFA for tracking. They have their own proprietary Google ID or GAID. So they will still be able to track users within their apps. And in fact, they won't be requesting access to IDFA at all in their apps, as they will just rely on their own tracking. The ads shown through their network on their apps, however, may see some data loss when users opt out of IDFA tracking. And of course, Google being Google, they're already working on additional measures to lessen the impact of ATT. After all, a lot of their money comes from ad revenue, and they are all about the data. The ATT threatens their ability to collect the very data they rely on to create personalized ad experiences. They already model conversion events to accounts for some cross-device and view-through conversions, and they will be focusing on that more to safeguard their advertising networks. This update is also going to affect the other big advertising giant, Facebook. They have 3 billion mobile users with a B, not an M, and a good portion of which are on iOS devices. As the latest and most popular social media platform in the world, Facebook commands a lot of attention and press. Their ad sales are their largest revenue driver, and if they can't provide effective advertising for businesses, well, they may see their fortune decline. With that threat looming over their heads, you can bet they've made some changes to protect themselves and the companies that advertise on their platform. Now, there's a good chance that you are not directly using Facebook or one of its apps to advertise, since Facebook has made it pretty hard for dispensaries to do so. However, even if you aren't advertising on Facebook itself, you may rely on data from Facebook for your digital advertising, whether you know it or not. To track users, Facebook uses Pixel. They addressed concerns regarding how their tracking pixel would be affected by the ATT, saying that it will affect, end quote, businesses that advertise on mobile apps, as well as those that optimize, target, and report on web conversion events from any of our business tools. And in their help center, they give specific steps that businesses can take to mitigate the effects of the ATT update, including verifying their domain name with Facebook, following their developer guidelines, creating separate campaigns. The types of campaigns that can be created and how many campaigns can be created have been limited because of the new update. Facebook also notes that as people opt out, the size of retargeting audiences will be reduced. If you are a marketer and want more detail info on all of this, check out Facebook's Business Help Center. I mentioned that Facebook has a pixel. That pixel is often installed on a website in order to track on-site behavior and retarget customers. It can also be used to aggregate behavior data and create lookalike audiences that help businesses reach new customers with similar attributes to their current customers. Overall, if you rely on Facebook, expect data loss, slower reporting, smaller audience sizes, and performance fluctuations. More people have Android devices than iOS devices. So you may be thinking, so what? I can still reach all of my Android users. But this will actually end up impacting most of your customers because the platforms and apps like Google and Facebook will roll out their security features to their Android apps if they haven't already. People want to feel like they have some measure of privacy online. So expanding those features is a no-brainer for Google, Facebook, and other apps. It makes them look like they're protecting user data, even though they are the ones who are profiting the most from it. While more people do have Android devices, the numbers are almost in par. So you cannot discount apps update just because a larger segment of your audience is still reachable. You are still going to feel the impact of the reduced tracking capabilities on iOS 14.5 unless you take action. Now let's talk about how you can mitigate the update's negative effects and the different apps that will be affected. First up, you have to make sure that you are properly measuring and tracking all of those important KPIs for your ads. You won't know the impact of the new update if you aren't measuring how well your ads are performing. If you haven't been measuring your ad performance, start tracking it now or find a team that will track it for you. Otherwise, you risk blowing your marketing budget on ads that just simply don't work. So because this update has to do with cross-channel tracking, you will want to measure how many people are seeing your ads. That's called your impressions. You also want to know how many people are clicking on your ads. If you divide your clicks by your impressions, then multiply that number by 100, you will get your click-through rate, which is a percentage of ads that are getting clicked on. If your targeting has been affected, you will see fewer impressions or click-throughs. Depending on your types of ads you are running and what platforms you're using, you may also have delays with your reporting. Now, because your ads will lead to your website or a landing page, you will be able to track users once they get on your page using Google Analytics or your own tracking pixel. This will also allow you to retarget to those individuals later and allow you to measure how many conversions you get and how much revenue you're generating from certain campaigns. You should also monitor your return on ad spend to ensure that you are focusing your efforts on the highest returned campaigns. Okay, so you have the measurement down now. So what? And what is the next step? Well, as any good advertiser would tell you, it's time to test. And then you test again, and then a third time, and you keep testing. With your metrics in hand, you can spot opportunities. For example, maybe you have a low click-through rate. You can use A/B testing to create and run alternative campaigns featuring different graphics and different call to actions. You can test for discount sensitivity for specific audience groups like age and gender. And by isolating just one factor to change, you can measure its impact and continue to make adjustments to improve your results. Unfortunately, not every dispensary has the marketing budget or team to do this. But thankfully, when you work with foot traffic, you get the benefit of our expertise. And because we have run thousands of campaigns across North America, we are able to optimize ads for our clients and get them a larger market share faster. And the best part of that is you get the reporting. There are no empty promises, as you will receive real-time reporting that shows just how effective your campaigns are. If we spy an opportunity for you, well, we'll let you know. And if we identify problems, we'll also be troubleshooting them and keep you in the loop. Our goal is to maximize your marketing budget so that you see greater return on your overall money being spent. Once you've run your A/B test, then of course it's time to measure it again, and the cycle repeats itself. I think the largest impact this update will have will be showing that you cannot put all of your advertising eggs in one basket. A strategy that only focuses on one platform, whether it's Google or Facebook or another site, it's not a robust strategy. One change like this update can negatively impact your revenue and cost you many, many sales. Rather than focusing on a single platform, it's important that you take a multi-pronged approach to ensure that you have and are reaching as many different people as possible. So in addition to running display ads on your target audience's favorite apps and websites, you should also be running Google ads or over-the-top video ads, which means not on broadcast channel, which is federally illegal, right? So over-the-top goes directly to those apps on a smart TV. Plus, you can focus on your organic search reach with search engine optimization. So by diversifying your advertising, you can better protect your bottom line and pivot as necessary to deal with fluctuations over time, such as this update. I want you to do a quick rundown of some of the ad types we run for our clients and just mention how they will be affected by Apple's privacy measures. I said before that Google search ads won't be affected by the ATT update. These are the ads that show up at the top of the search results when a user runs a query. They are already and really great for getting your dispensary to the top of the search results, and we have made these ads even better with our own machine learning software. I recommend these ads to everyone because many dispensaries aren't doing them. There's not as much competition on Google search, and the threshold to get started is super, super low. Google's display network ads, Google Maps ads, YouTube ads will be affected as they will lose some insight into user behavior when people opt out of tracking. So you will be harder to target particular audience segments. This will also affect their reporting because they will just have less data to provide. Display ads are the visual ads you will see at the bottom of an app or a mobile website. These ads may be affected depending on the platform on which apps they are actually displayed on. So since Google has taken steps to mitigate the effects of ATT on its apps, display ads on Google Maps may not be as affected as display ads on Words with Friends, as an example. The big issue for display ads on apps will be reaching particular audience segments based on demographics and behaviors in less quality data reporting. Only time will tell how many people choose to opt out of tracking, but because Apple has made the opt-out option more prominent, it's a safe bet that a substantial number of people will be rejecting tracking. For display ads on mobile websites, the effect of ATT will primarily be felt on Safari, which is the most popular mobile browser with 56% of Americans using it. If users have the Google Chrome app, however, they will still be trackable, though there will be still some data loss of cross-channel data if they opt out from the app altogether. I already mentioned YouTube, but I wanted to note that there is an alternative to advertising on YouTube. While it's a popular platform, it's not the only place that people watch videos. If you want to take advantage of video ads, you can use OTT ads on smart TVs to reach your audience. These ads don't rely on Apple's iOS unless your target audience has a Apple TV. Their TVs aren't as popular as the company's other devices. So targeting smart TVs in general is still a good way to diversify your advertising and surprise your target audience with different ad types. OTT ads are purchased through a programmatic advertising network, and we can hook you up with cannabis-friendly network to help you ensure compliance as well as targeting the right audience. The iOS update will also affect ads showing up using the Gmail app on an iPhone or an iPad. However, if you want to take some control back and own your customer data, then we always advise keeping an email list. With digital advertising platforms like Google and Facebook, we have to rely on the quality of their data. And when something like this update happens and their data gathering capabilities are negatively impacted, then the businesses that use those platforms to advertise end up paying the cost. By keeping an email list, you can easily market to your audience over and over without someone controlling the data. You own the data and you can integrate it with your POS or your loyalty program as long as the platform you choose has the capability to do so. Email advertising won't help you find new customers. Other advertising methods are better for that, but it will help you stay top of mind with your current customers and share deals and incentives. For dispensaries, it can often seem like just as you find your footing, the regulatory landscape changes once again. Now, with big tech also implementing changes that affect how you can advertise, it's crucial that you stay up to date with everything going on so you can create and distribute compliant ads to potential customers. But unless you have a large marketing team on staff, it can be hard keeping track of what's actually currently allowed, what's working best for your dispensary, and what steps you should take to get more from your marketing. That's where foot traffic comes in. We work as an extension of your marketing team or as your sole marketing team to help you generate more revenue via digital advertising. We bring our proprietary tech to the table in order to advance your goals and help you grow your dispensary, whether you have one location, 3, or a dozen. We aim to provide our clients with as many advertising opportunities as possible and then help them determine where they should invest based on the data we've collected. Then, as we run ads, we keep them in the loop with real-time reporting so they can make decisions based on actionable data. We've already monitored the effects of iOS 14.5 on our ads, and we'll continue to optimize them for our clients to ensure they are as effective as possible. So as promised, to help you navigate the digital advertising landscape, we have 2 special promotions for today's attendees, both of which will help you diversify your ads to reduce the impacts of Apple's iOS update. First up, get a free website with a 6-month advertising plan that includes Google Ads, display ads, and search engine optimization. This plan will provide you the support you need to launch your business, give your website a refresh, or just supercharge your advertising. Let's get this underway and mitigate the effects of Apple's update. So schedule a call with us today at foottraffic.me/chat, and we'll put that link on the chat here for you. That link again is foottraffic.me/chat, and we will walk you through everything. Or alternatively, you can choose to get 50% off your new dispensary website with a 3-month digital advertising plan that includes Google Ads, display ads, and search engine optimization. And once again, please feel free to schedule a consultation with our very own client success manager, Jason Griffin, and learn how these services will support your goals. Choose a time with him at foottraffic.me/chat. I love building these services together because they really do work best in unison. It doesn't pay to put all of your eggs in one basket. You need to be able to diversify your advertising investment in order to have the largest reach. So don't wait until you start feeling the impacts of the changing mobile landscape. Schedule a consultation today and invest in your advertising dollars very, very wisely. I want to thank everybody for taking the time once again to join us today. I want to stay true to your time, as your time is very valuable. Once again, take a moment to schedule a call with us. And if you have any other questions, we're more than happy to address those offline on a one-on-one and help you get started today. Have a wonderful day. Thanks again.